The Notcast, life, love and misery and deep shit.
Do you ever wonder, what the fuck am I doing here? Is this it? Maybe you've got the car, career, house, family and friends, everything that should make you happy. But still, there's this tenacious sense of being trapped, stuck, lost, or just a bit bloody empty. Welcome to the Notcast, where two therapist coaches, aka theracoaches, lay bare their psycho-spiritual journey of struggle, strife, and realization in their soul search for the keys to a happier, more fulfilling life.
Oh my God. What is this episode called? Stress.
Already stressed.
That's a good place to start.
Stress, 5 splendid solutions to supercharge your resilience and keep burnout at bay.
Ah, okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to episode 7 of the Notcast. Stress, 5 splendid solutions to supercharge your resilience and keep burnout at bay.
Hey.
That was stressful. Oh, okay. So stress.
Stress. I've actually found this episode more stressful than I anticipated to prep for. I did a bunch of prep about what stress means to me and all of this, and then seemed to go blank on the whole thing. And then I was like, oh, what's my experience of stress been? And again, just drew a massive blank for ages. Clearly trying too hard.
Clearly making it more stressful than it needs to be.
Absolutely. Thought I'd have learned by now. Clearly not.
Yeah. I get that though. I think it's weird what happens when we sit down to do these. It suddenly just goes out my head. Just like, but yeah, stress. I think stress is one of those things that it's funny reflecting on it, because I so don't feel the same way that I used to feel. So it was quite interesting to go back to a time where every moment of my life was stressful. And that was just my normality.
You said it was fun.
Surprisingly. No, it was weird. Did I say it was fun? I hope not.
I'm sure you said it was fun, and I was like, that doesn't sound like fun.
No, in the way that I can see, like I look back at it now and it almost makes me laugh. I think, really?
Right.
Like, wasted time. Stressing about everything. But it felt like I had to be that way, and that was just how everybody was, and that's what life was, to be stressed. So I think it's not being in the stress as much that allows me to understand that it doesn't really have to be like that all of the time. And I guess the realization that I very much lived in the constant feeling of threat. And being in like freeze, fight or flight mode all of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I went with it initially.
Well, let me ask you then, what does stress mean to you?
I think in its most useful sense is something that can be quite motivating sometimes. like I used to say all the time that I work well under pressure.
Mm.
So I think there are moments where if I feel a little bit stressed out, I know that I'll just focus and get something done. And then it's kind of useful. What it used to mean to me was like a badge of honor. It was like, how much stress can I cope with? How stressed out can I be? And just carry on and on and on. But when I was reflecting, I think the reality of what came out for me was that being in constant stress was a way of avoiding my truth and the shitstorm that my life was. And yeah, not allowing myself to hear my truth.
Gotcha. Well, when I think about what stress means to me, it's overwhelm. It's, well, for me, it's more, you know, I like to think of things in terms of equations or concepts. And for me, it's like when the challenge exceeds my capabilities or my perceived capabilities, well, then I get stressed. And if I don't see a different way of changing things, so if I don't see a way of either increasing my capability or somehow lessening the challenge, then I'm going to be stressed.
Got it.
Especially if I start to feel alone with that. That's when then I'm going to stay stressed, and that's been a lot of my experience of stress, especially when I've been in like a place of there's this thing or these things I absolutely have to do, but I don't really feel that I want to do them, or I don't know how I'm going to get them done, or I don't know how I'm going to get them done properly. And you know, if there's a fear of consequence of, you know, not getting them done properly or not getting them done on time or something like that, that's that for me is a bit of a recipe for stress and overthinking, and then everything else getting, well, that feedback loop of, well, now I'm stressed and I'm trying to work out a better way to do this through my stressed thinking and perception, and yeah, round and round the merry-go-round.
Yeah, that resonates. Trying to solve the problem with the same thinking that caused the problem.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting as well that you talked about stress in terms of what was it you said about, like, you work well under pressure?
Yeah.
Because I would have never have said that about me. I mean, I think realistically I did. Like, definitely smashed out some last minute essays when I was in school. Like, some of them even actually genuinely pulling an all-nighter. Mm-hmm. Even when I was about 14 or 15, which I think back now is pretty ridiculous. But I didn't enjoy it at all, and it was. I don't think I've ever been a person that embraced that. I know some people have really like embraced that that quality, or that was never something for me. I was still always panicking or stressing. I was never like energized by it. It was like fuck, oh my god, like roller coaster of emotions.
I get that. I think while I would be doing the task, like I did my dissertation in one night, and I was really pressurized. I know.
Entire dissertation.
An entire dissertation. And the thing is, I don't think I've ever felt good whilst doing the thing under pressure. Because then the whole head speak around, oh, why didn't you fucking do this earlier? And why did you leave it to this? And, you know, all of that's going on. Well, I don't know if it was just because I used to kid myself thinking, well, it's better to have that in one hit and get it out of the way. Yeah, then to kind of spread it out. So, yeah, I think there was a lot of stories I used to tell myself when under stress the whole time. Like, I work really well like this. It's like, clearly I don't. Clearly that is not a good way of working. So yeah.
Well, I wonder if it's something you can practice at, actually. Because I remember there was, oh, God knows when it was now, years ago, when I was employed, I did a project where I'd like process mapped a whole company, pretty much, or had done a lot of it anyway, which basically involved me just dragging everybody into a room and going, "Tell me what you do, and why did you do that, and tell me, and what did you do next, and what did you do next, what about this," and drawing lots of flow charts for it. And then I put it together into this report. Basically, I was asked to do a report on it and to make some recommendations. And I remember the boss saying to me, like, he said, like, you need a date, and gave me a date, and then he also gave me a bunch of recommendations for what I needed to do, or suggestions, requests, I guess, for how we wanted it represented. Right. And I felt stressed by the whole thing, especially when it came to delivering it. And the last day before I'd said that I would have it in, that was a day when it was like, I think I worked from home that day so that I could get it done, but I actually worked all the way through the night. And I just remember sat there at my kitchen table just smoking roll-ups and working at my laptop, and it's just like day turned to night, turned to day again.
Yeah.
And it felt really good having it done, but I really struggled with that whole process. But looking back, I do wonder whether it's something that I could have got better at, like using that push of the deadline and the energy of that. But I think for me, because of all the fear associated with it, and actually, and being a bit shit at working like that, it was so painful every time I would go, yeah, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah. And yet inevitably I would do it every time.
Well, I think I just ended up like just avoiding deadlines wherever I could. After that became my strategy. It's like, let's just do that, and then ideally just never get anything done, which is not really ideal.
Yeah. Because that's pretty much how I did my dissertation. It was just all night, lots of Pro Plus, coffee and cigarettes. It's just like, just work through the night. You've got this. I think I finished at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, okay, go get this shit bound and hand it in.
I remember the day after, I remember I went into work and I was still like, high off adrenaline, basically, and probably nicotine. And I did a whole day, and then I came home and I was so overtired. It got to a point, I remember looking at, I think I was down in my kitchen and I suddenly realised everything was looking black and white. Like my vision for about half an hour went black and white. I don't know what happened. I mean, it must have been some like hallucination of sorts, like because obviously like my eyes hadn't changed. But I remember being a bit freaked out, being like, "Is this going to come back? Am I going to get the colour back?" Like I don't. And then I couldn't sleep because I was overtired, and it was just like, oh my god. So yeah, it was experiences like that made me be like, maybe I should just avoid deadlines for the rest of my life. That's probably a good idea.
Love that. How's that treating you?
Yeah, it's been a challenge, I'll tell you that much.
Okay. So our 5 splendid solutions.
5. Well, I've only got 3.
Excellent.
Well, I might have some others, but who knows?
Yeah.
I've definitely got 3. He says confidently.
Fab. Excellent. Do you want to go first? Shall I go first?
We could flip a coin.
We could.
So, my first one is ask, why aren't I saying no more?
I love that.
Now, I was originally going to have it as start saying no.
Mm-hmm.
Start saying no more. But then when I reflected on it, I thought, well, that's a fucking stupid thing to say to somebody, because if they could say more, they probably would. Well, because when I thought about it for me, that was, if someone had said start saying no more, I would have been like, well, yeah, but.
I can't.
Well, because I didn't think about, so where this one came from me, I would take stuff on, but it was coming from a place of me feeling that I should be doing more all the time. I enjoyed being busy, but I think a lot of that was actually me trying to get worth out of being busy.
Yeah.
And trying to get away from that not being good enough. It's like whatever I'm doing, I need to be doing more of it. And if I'm not doing something, I'm not adding value. And I definitely had some fear of confrontation stuff in there as well, unless I felt particularly safe in whatever environment. Like I think with work where I was employed, I felt particularly safe there, so it might be easier. But in other contexts, I would say yes when I meant no.
Yeah.
So to just say no wouldn't really be looking at the problem. So that's why I say, well, ask why aren't I saying no more? Because for me, there was definitely certain fears and beliefs, some stuff going on that would stop me.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Do you know what's really interesting is that actually for this episode, that's kind of where I went to as well. Lots of questions. Because that was my process around stress. It was like, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to go, well, just don't do that. It's like, that's not going to work. So I think, yeah, inquiry is a good approach.
Yeah.
So my first one is let's get to know the stress.
Let's get to know the stress.
Yeah, and start making friends with it.
My little stress buddy.
Yeah, that's the one. So I guess that's about, and I actually came up with a list of questions. So it's like, I'm stressed. What's going on for me right now? Like, notice.
Is this how you fit in your 17 into 3?
I've got 11 today.
Fuck's sake.
I know you love it, really. So, yeah. I guess making friends with it rather than being afraid of it or just avoiding it or, that kind of stuff. And really asking, I think it was for me, it was a process of really looking at it. When am I getting stressed out? What's actually going on when I'm stressed out? I know for me, a lot of it was around perceived threat. Mm-hmm. So then I would ask questions like, am I safe right now? Is there anything that I need to be scared of? Is there anything that's threatening me? And just bringing my attention to the fact that I am, because for me, it was like a default mode. So I just had to notice it and do something different. But it took a lot of practice and repetition. So it was really about understanding the stress rather than avoiding it or trying to numb it or just cope with the symptoms as such. It's more about really getting to understand what's going on. Yeah.
Making friends with it. It's funny, I think if someone had said that to me a few years ago, I would have been like, the hell are you chatting about?
Yeah, me too. Me too. I feel like, what is wrong with you? But yeah.
Well, I suppose to both of our points, when I think about what stress looked like to me some years ago, it didn't look like it was about me. It looked like the stuff that I was having to do or should do, or like I didn't really see how I was creating that. And I guess the thing is, when we're stressed, we don't see how we're creating that, but I think it didn't really enter. I think the difference for me now is that more quickly it's easier for me to ask those questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be like how is this how I'm looking at it, or what am I missing here?
Yeah, what am I not seeing? Like for me, I think it was like I needed that moment to connect to myself and go, you're okay, you're safe, It's okay. You don't have to feel like that right now. Because it was I guess my body was really just used to feeling like that, having that reaction or response to everything. So then being able to connect to it slightly and ask some questions would help me to drop back into the present and not run off in my head to some perceived danger that might occur. So that's where that one came from.
Which, as you're talking, something that I find, and I can still get this, if I'm stressed or, my mind's like buzzing with stuff, like I realise it can get quite physical, like in my body for me. And when I'm in that place, my mind in a way is, part of it seems to tell me like I need to do something to kind of, I don't know, get rid of it or something. And often it seems to be like I need to do more, finish the list, do the things. And actually, often what I need to is the opposite of that. That's often actually, I've had to learn to train myself to go, no, I probably need a fucking break. This stress is actually being generated by my constant going over whatever I'm going over, or, overthinking about all this stuff. Actually, what I really need is to take a walk, or just have a cup of tea, sit down and meditate, or whatever. Just do something that's not continuing to fucking think about shit, basically.
Yeah. That. All of that.
But it's still interesting for me that it can still, like, even like a couple of hours ago, I was having to type up something for a client, and I knew we were going to do this. And part of me is like, oh, I need to do that thing, and I'm feeling like, oh, I should really do that, and I'm feeling this energy in my body, and like, oh, and it was only that I was like, what do I really? Hang on, I'm feeling that thing. What do I really need? What I really need is to get away from the bloody computer.
Yeah.
Now, part of me goes, but. You've got the stuff to do. But I also know from experience now, if I sit at the computer and do that, then by the time we have this conversation, I'm not going to be in a good place.
No. No.
And it does, and it works out. I know, just know it works out better if I take that break.
Yeah.
But it's still interesting to me that in the moment that old thing can still come up. Like, it still feels like there's still that thing that's like, oh yeah, do the thing that doesn't work.
Yeah. I guess, see, part of that was me. For me, it was like getting used to the fact that it's a bodily reaction.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that I need to then connect with my body rather than try and disassociate from everything and just carry on. Doesn't work. So it's like my body is trying to tell me something right now. So listening might be good. Hence, getting to know the stress, I think, is useful.
Well, I told you, didn't I, when I did that, when I did those workshops the other day, and I felt quite good while I was doing them, and I felt really like engaged. And then as soon as I got in the car, I started driving away, I started to feel like absolute fucking dog shit, and I'm like, why do I feel awful? And I think it must have been that moment where when my brain went, right, we can turn off the stress hormones now.
Yep.
And I don't know whatever my body was doing with them, but I was like, wow, why do I feel naff? And I had to take a good, I don't know, after I got home, I had to take a good 15, probably only about 10 minutes actually, of just, because I got in and I'm like, oh, I need to do this and this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, it was that process again. Like I get in and I'm trying, I know there's these things that I, have to do, inverted commas, and my brain's saying, yeah, I have to do them now. or bad stuff's happening.
Or else.
Well, yeah, but it's like it's coming through that lens of me feeling rubbish. It's like, no, actually, what I really need, if I listen to my body, is fucking stop. And when I stop for 10 minutes and just get present with myself, then it's like, oh, okay, now I feel a bit clearer headed and clearer bodied. Now let's have a look at that list. Oh, that list looks a bit better now.
Yeah. And I guess that's the thing. It's that, well, it was another one of mine, but it's like, check in with, is this a normal level of stress? Because everybody goes through stress. Or is this something different? Is this the mind fuckery?
What's the difference? Like, how do you know? What's the difference for you between normal stress and mind fuckery stress?
Normal stress doesn't, I've lost the word.
Erin's moving her hand in a circle.
I am. For me, that head stress when I go into my story place is quite panicky, and I'm having a strong reaction to it. And normal stress is more like, okay, you know, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone, or I'm struggling a little bit with this, or I might not know what I'm doing. But to go out into all total panic is not necessary. Like total overwhelm with the whole thing is not necessary. And I can feel it in my body. My body tells me. Like I have this strong feeling. And then I know I just need to step back and breathe. But yeah, it's giving myself that moment of going, is this normal stress, or is this like, you know, the head stuff where you've fallen into that massive... Also, I go into fight or flight or freeze mode.
Yeah.
So then what my head is saying to me is not making sense.
Right.
It's trying to escape something, like I'm in some sort of danger. Yeah. So that's how I know.
Well, that kind of leads on to my second one, which is reach out. Reach out. Because, so I learned about this from, as in like the science of it, from Kelly McGonigal. She wrote a book called The Upside of Stress. And she's got a TED talk on, I forget what it's called. I don't think it's called The Upside of Stress, but it's something like that. And she talks about how when the stress hormones are released, there's oxytocin. There's a bit of oxytocin that's released as well, like the cuddle hormone. And the theory is because that's the bit that's supposed to make us reach out and go, shit, I need some help with this. And if we do that, then stress is actually quite, it makes us quite resilient. But if we don't, that's when we go into the fight, flight, threat mode. And when I heard that, when I reflected on my experience, it makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, if we're stressed about something, we talk to somebody, right? And then we tend to feel better. Like that's the old stereotype's the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like that's if I talk to someone, I got a problem, I feel better. A problem shared's a problem halved, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or if I'm struggling with something, if I get some physical help, like if I can't carry something, I get some help from somebody. Oh, great, that was easy.
Yeah.
Or easier. And I think about times like, and I think I talked about this on a previous episode, but there was a point where I got handed a performance review plan from a boss of mine, and I went into a bit of a stress panic spiral. And then there was a moment for me where I was at home and I thought I could do what I normally do and just put my head down and try and cope on my own, or I can go and talk to the team and be like, I need some help. And what was holding me back was the fear of, what if they give me shit, or what if I feel like embarrassed or ashamed or whatever. But I made the decision, because of past experience, I was like, I know how it ends if I don't if I try and keep it under wraps. But you know, when I then actually did reach out and share, like the weight that was lifted, and everybody rallied around, it was a completely different experience. And when I think about through all my, well, anytime really I've been stressed about something, there's been some level of aloneness with it or misunderstanding. And I'd even found it, and I found it could be quite contextual as well. Like, if I was stressed about something work-wise, let's say like, you know, I remember before, like when my inquiries went quiet and I didn't really know what to do about like why that had happened. And I started to get stressed about that because again, like my lack of capability, I didn't know what to do about it. Didn't know how to solve the problem. And I remember talking to my ex about it. I'm talking to my girlfriend at the time about it. But like in my mind, she couldn't really help me with that. Like she could be there and be supportive, although I could share it with her, but she couldn't, I didn't actually feel supported with the problem in that context, as it were.
Yeah.
Whereas it was different when I felt I could talk to my business coach about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was connected with me and my business. So it was a different kind of, it was a different response. And so I've definitely found that kind of thing. Like sometimes talking about it can help, but sometimes it does seem to, like there's some contextual stuff about it, whether I actually feel like the person understands in that context or that support makes a difference, I guess.
So I guess what I'm hearing is reach out to the right person.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess reach out to the right person in the right context. The right person for you right then. Something like that.
Love it.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, the thing that comes to me as well is that that's an obvious like command, if you look command suggestion. But it's like, for me, it's like, what stops you? That's the question like if someone had said, oh, just reach out to me before, it would have probably been a yeah, but. Well, the things that stopped me, and that sometimes it's like not realizing I necessarily need to, you could say, but it's been, you know, what are they, is there anyone that can help me? You know, what does it mean about me? Is it okay to ask for help? Can I trust that person? Like it's all the fears and the beliefs and stuff that get in the way. You need a new internet connection, mate.
I know, for fuck's sake. Joy. I don't know what you said last. I've got no idea.
It's all that porn you're downloading.
Yeah, I should stop that shit, really. Okay, where were we at?
Don't remember. Clearly I was just talking to myself for a while.
You really were.
I don't remember. The things that get in the way. That's what I was talking about. The things that get in the way.
Internet connection, for example.
Well, yeah, the things that get there. What causes you stress? Bad internet connections.
Yeah. That defo stresses me out.
Talking to myself.
It's not that bad, is it?
Trying to splice together recordings.
Oh, well, yeah. Sorry, not sorry. So are you done with your second one?
To recap, for a third time. So reaching out, essentially what I was saying is there's the reaching out aspect, but something that made me, you know, what I thought, if someone had said to me, reach out, I'd have been like, yeah, but. And for me, it's really about the stuff that gets in the way, and the things that get in the way, or, you know, had got in the way and still, I guess, can get in the way. For me, are things like what happens if I do reach out? Like what's the fear associated with that? Like, what's the consequence going to be? Are they going to think that I'm stupid, or are they going to think that I'm weak or not good enough? Are they going to reject me for it? Or can I trust this person? These are all things that had come up for me in the past, and sometimes even on a more unconscious level. Like, I didn't realize that stuff was always playing out Initially I just have the thought like, well, I there's no one to ask, or I have to do this on my own. Like there was that stuff in place. I remember it was actually a real turning point for me when I had that performance review plan, where I sat there with it and was like, when I saw, I have to talk to them. I think it was because on some level I saw the only reason why I wouldn't was because I'd be afraid of the rejection or what they would say, and that was actually quite a new thing for me then.
There was something that I wanted to add to that, but
But your internet died again, and you couldn't hear me too. Like,
my
was I just talking to myself again?
Might be. I don't know how you'd know if you were though. This could just be a voice in your head.
Amy's got that vacant stare again.
Again.
That's what you did before you disappeared the last time. You just got this vacant stare. It's like, oh no, she's not moving. She's gone.
Yeah, love it. So I'm just going to do my second one.
Go for it.
Self-love. I knew just
It's your game, isn't it? It's just I've got to fit love into everything.
Yeah, I said I was going to, right? But there's a reason for it. Anyway, self-love and relationship to self. Because I feel like we've already kind of spoken to this in many ways, but it's really about knowing yourself and knowing your stress. And I think I was really hard on myself around the stress stuff. I didn't really understand where it was coming from. And I lived in trauma quite a lot of the time. So re-traumatizing myself every time I got stressed because I was really shit to myself really wasn't very helpful. And for me, this is really like a lifetime journey. And having been in burnout, the thing that I realized was lacking completely at that point was any reverence or love for myself, because I effectively just carried on working until I got pneumonia. So it started as a cold, it turned into like a chest infection, and I still was going to work, doing my sessions and everything, until it got to pneumonia, and it effectively made me stop. But I think my reflection on that was really my understanding that stress for me historically had been a validation of my existence. It was how I kind of defined my worth, through doing stuff all of the time and being able to do it, which was like, my badge of honor. Look at me getting through all this stressful shit. Yeah. I had to understand how I could be better to myself. And that really meant building a good relationship with myself, to really understand myself. And I guess what I realized is stress was a response that I've had since I was very, very young to the things that I've witnessed in my environment, and as an adult. So in being unkind to myself, I was almost putting myself back in that bodily reaction to stress, because I was just doing what other people did to me. So I think I just got so used to being in that space of threat and my body reacting like that became normal. So to undo that, I really had to understand myself, understand the stress, and be really kind to myself. I had to face the dragon with love.
Face the dragon with love.
Yeah.
I love that. Similar to my last one, my third one, which is slow down and listen. because I was similar. Like I was always rushing around. Like I feel like I spent a lot of my life rushing and not realizing that I was the one actually causing my stress because of this need to do stuff quickly and get more done. I mean, I remember an ex of mine like talking about how I made food in the kitchen, that I was a bit of a whirlwind because when I would cook stuff I would always cook the same thing the same way. But in my mind it was all about efficiency and doing it like, you know, being able to like turn the hob on and do this and then that and then the toaster and like, you know, move around like a bit of a ninja.
Yeah.
Which, you know, in some respects, well, I suppose it's kind of, you know, it's fun in a way because it's like adrenaline and it's a bit of a game. But I think really it wasn't coming from that space. It was coming from this, the quicker I do it, then the more time I've got for other things. So the more, you know, essentially it was like the better I can be. If I've got more time, I've got more time to be good enough at something. But that in itself caused stress because something would inevitably go wrong or I'd drop something and then I'd be like, fuck!
Yeah.
And then, of course, I've caused more stress because I've just screwed something up. And I'd be constantly late as well. Because I'd get, you know, I'd like in my head I would be trying to line things up perfectly for this efficiency thing. Mm-hmm. So I could, even if I'd technically be early, if I had like 10 minutes, my brain would go, oh, so you've got 10 minutes to do this thing, which then inevitably would take 15. So then I'd be late.
Yeah.
Because the idea of just being like, oh, I'll just be 10 minutes early, like I couldn't do that. I'd have to fill it with something because that seemed like a great idea. But it's just, my mind was just constantly on. And then not realising that all these things just kept adding up to creating more stress and more overthinking, more things to juggle. But I think ultimately, and like I alluded to before, that actually because if and when I did ever slow down, it would point to this, oh, I should be doing more. Why? Oh, because I'm not good enough, and oh, because I'm, not... and actually for me, a lot of it, I think, especially at particular times, like a few years ago, I remember there was a point where I was at work, where I would wake up in the morning, and that place between like sleep and waking, where you just like nowadays when I find that space when I'm just waking up, it's quite a meditative space. And assuming I'm not stressed or worried about something, like that's where like random ideas will pop into my head or something, and I'll be like, oh, that's good. Like this morning when I had like the idea for our group program prefix came to my mind, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'll write that one down.
Love it.
But when I remember there was a particular time, and this wasn't it wasn't just even for a small amount of time. I realised it was quite a regular occurrence where, when I was employed, I'd wake up, and in that space, I just had this horrible dread of like, well, it was dying. Actually, it was a fear of dying.
Wow.
But the more I connected with it at points, it was actually a fear of dying without having achieved anything. Mm-hmm. And I think, when I would then wake up, I'd almost like, oh, quick, get away from that and get busy, so I'm not thinking about that. And I think actually that was largely there because I wasn't really following the path in life that I wanted. But I think it was stuff like that was a real driver for me to stay busy, and in a way, almost like a positive gain of staying stressed, which, in a way, in some respects, it seems bonkers because then I'm constantly trying not to be stressed, and annoyed because I'm stressed, but then there's obviously this part of me that wants to stay busy and stressed because otherwise I have to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
But again, right, that if that's what's really going on, the only way to actually face that and get to know it is to actually slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what eventually happened to me, was having to having to do the deeper work, having to do the harder journey and face that stuff. So yeah, slow down and listen, and the other two then questions that come for me as a result of that are, what are you afraid of, and what do you actually need?
I love that. I have a big smile on my face because that was my number 5. Slow down, get present, and it was pretty much the same questions. What am I afraid of? What am I avoiding?
Existential dread.
Yeah, that. Oh gosh. Okay. So, which one shall I go with now? I can pick and choose. Yeah, I'm going to go deal with the root causes, not the symptoms.
Okay, tell me more.
I guess it points back to the last one that I spoke to, but I guess it's a case of not just putting plasters on everything, because that's what I tried to do initially. Just like little things like I breathed for a day. Okay, I sat and I did focused breathing for one day. Why do I not feel any fucking better? It's like that kind of thing that I used to do. But I needed to understand the stress. Like I needed to understand about the trauma behind it, about that understanding really helped me with the questions that I put into place when I felt like that, which was then kind of like, okay, are you in threat? Are you really in threat? Like, what do you need right now to make you feel like you're not in threat? Do I need to move environment? Do I need to let go of something? Do I need to not be doing what I'm doing right now? Do I need to approach it differently? But the basis of all of that was really understanding my stress and not just going, well, I'm stressed, so I'm just going to, I don't know, go run on the spot for 5 minutes or whatever. I guess it's really about understanding that you can move forward quite differently with your stress and have a very different relationship with it if you can understand why it's like that. Because I know some of it for me was like I figured out through reflection that some of it was modeled behavior, because that was always around me as a child, like this high stress situation, and it was made normal. It's like, this is how people live. Like understanding things like that really helped me to go, well, do I need that bit? Does that bit make sense? And then once I looked at it, it really didn't make sense anymore. And also addressing things like smoking, too much coffee, and understanding why those things helped me, in inverted commas, because that's what, it's like, I'm really stressed out, let me go have a fag. Doesn't really help. Doesn't really help. So yeah, it was being able to actually deal with where the stress was coming from in the first place. That really helped me to decimate it and not live in stress 24 hours a day. But also having an awareness of the stories around stress.
Yeah, when I think I didn't really know how stressed I was for a long time, because it's all I knew, and because I didn't know how to relax and properly have downtime. Because every time I did have it was almost like, well, one of two things I think would happen. I'd either be just exhausted, or I would feel exhausted and guilty I wasn't doing more.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, that's not really an incentive to slow down.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely not an incentive to slow down.
Yeah, and I resonate with the smoking thing as well. I smoked for quite a while, and I had the stories about smoking, and I know there is a physical component with nicotine, but then you get all the stories that get attached to that and what it meant was, and the beliefs. And but yeah, when I think back, what I really enjoyed about smoking was the ability to just take 5 minutes from work and go out,
Yeah.
get a breather.
Yeah.
It's like, surely if, well, I don't know, just now when I think about it, it's like there's all this created stress, and then I'm having to take a break from that. It's like, did I maybe just not create it in the first place? I don't need a break from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Like, that's what I used to do as well. So how many cigarettes can I smoke in a day so I can get that many times I can step out and just avoid this shit. But yeah, I get that. I guess that's the thing with stress, right? It's like understanding it's quite useful. Understanding where it comes from is quite useful. And those, I guess the longer term stuff around it and really understanding it is what grows the resilience. Right? It's like if I can meet myself in the stress and know that I'm okay and know that I need to do something different now and really raise the awareness around that. Well, that's how change happened for me. Because I guess in many situations, it's like I will ask myself things like, how can I change my approach to this so it's not as stressful?
Yeah.
You know, so I think those things really help in managing it rather than just falling into the habit of just going, well, this is just how it is and I can't change that.
Yeah, I think that was a real turning point for me, was in realizing that the stress wasn't coming from the things outside of me. It was my interpretation of that, my perspective on that, my thinking about that.
Yeah.
And and that doesn't mean that if things outside of me don't happen or don't happen the right way, that there won't be consequences. But my experience of that, my stress about that, is separate from that. And starting to really see that more and more helped me to have agency over, well, okay, what could I do?
Yeah.
What could I do?
Yeah.
What could I do differently? And I think, I don't know whether I said it on one of these episodes before, but there was a point in, I would regularly get to the end of the day and have a bunch of notes to do. And I had in my head, like, I need to, make sure I type up all these notes because, if I don't, like, they'll be there for tomorrow and rah, rah, rah. But then my brain's going, you need a break. But I'm going, no, I don't need, no, I need to do them. And I'm getting annoyed at myself why I can't stay focused and finish these notes because I've been staring at the screen for however many hours. And there was a particular day where I suddenly went, this is not because of the what's going on. Like, this isn't the notes and what I need to do. And like, I'm creating this. This is how I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I chose to take myself away and just take a breather and just, sit and close my eyes and meditate for 5 minutes. And I'd never done that before, I think, because of the, it was the fear that if I don't do it now, I won't come back to the computer and blah, 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 just another story. But as soon as I did that and then had the experience of like feeling my head decompress.
Yeah.
Well, and not just that, as that happened, then all of my thinking about the whole thing, like the whole thing that seemed really stressful and like a lot of stuff I had to do and bad stuff will happen, like that all just really eased.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it did, I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, nothing's actually changed. When I sat down at my computer again and looked at the list, I was like, I feel differently about this, but nothing's changed.
Yeah. And I think that's where the awareness and the know the stress, know yourself kind of works, because that's the only way you can really do something different. I don't know. I haven't found a shortcut to it, but I just, because it's really being able to ask those questions. The questions I often ask myself is like, how can I love myself where I am right now? How can I love what's in front of me? How can I do something slightly different? And it's like, what can I realistically let go of? Like, I don't need to or have to. I just used to be this thing around the shoulding. I have to, I must do all of this. And it's like, realistically, what difference is it going to make if I do this tomorrow? Or if I go for a walk and then I do it, and I guess it's that awareness and being able to pull that awareness into the moment and understand that, okay, I'm stressed right now, so what do I need, or what do I want?
And I think for me, I'd want to add to that, it's growing the self-trust that if I let go of the fear-based ego stress story or whatever, and I break that pattern, or I give myself what I need, that I'll be able to work it out. You know, if my brain, if I'm really feeling like I, you know, need to do something to if my brain's going, no, you need to do it now, and I'm feeling, no, actually I kind of need a break, but I'm being like, no, but I can't take a break. Yeah, it's that trust to go, do you know what, I'm going to give myself that break. I'm going to take that walk, and I'm going to trust that I'll work it out.
Yeah.
And what's definitely happened to me, the more I've trusted that and worked it out, well, the better I've got at it. And like, sometimes it doesn't always go to plan, but I'm still here.
Yes, you are. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I guess it is about trusting yourself and loving yourself.
Of course.
Of course. You know it points back to that. Okay. So, I'm going to do another one. Just because I can.
Of course you are.
We were supposed to, yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. Only because I love it a lot, this one. Play. Go play. Stop adulting so much. Just go fucking play.
Quit adulting and go play, but not to confuse adulting and play together, because that's a different episode altogether.
Yes, David, that is a different episode. I told you that already. Thanks for that.
That's for the premium listeners.
The subscribed monthly, yes, visitors. Fabulous. Okay. No, seriously. So you messed that up for me. Thanks.
More than welcome. Got you back anytime.
I owe you one now. Yeah, play. And the reason I put this one in is because I spent way too much trying to adult all the time, and felt really miserable thinking that this is what adulting was, just feeling fucking stressed out all the time and doing shit all the time, doing. And a lot like yourself, I felt like I should just be doing stuff all of the time, and I just should be able to get this stuff done. But the joy was missing. And like, as I've brought play and joy and creativity into my life, I definitely feel less stressed about stuff. Because it gives me the opportunity, even if it's for 5 minutes, I just go and do something really stupid or silly, or I don't know, go and dance to a song or something. It just disrupts the flow of the stress slightly for me. I think it's a necessary part of adult life. Like, just because we've got a label saying you're an adult doesn't mean that I shouldn't fucking play anymore. Yeah, and kids thrive when they play. So.
No, I agree. That's definitely been a learning for me over the last few years. That play. The whole idea of play for me wasn't a thing, because that was all about doing things that are fun and not work and not achieving and not doing should things.
Yes. What have I done to deserve this play?
Yeah, and I think like there were exceptions. to that. Like if it was, if we were going to a festival or something, or there was a festival I went to. But then even then, in my mind, there would be like, when it would come to the program, I would like be band hopping and I'd be just running around the festival site to see different bands. I need to catch this band, I need to catch this band, I need to catch this band, I need to catch this band. And then it itself became like a to-do list.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I totally agree on the play front. But again, for me, the other thing I'd be asking is what stops you, like, because for me, if someone had just said play, it would have been no because, and because I would have brought up all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's what stops you having fun? What stops you bringing some play or some relaxation time?
Yeah. The question I had that went with it was, where is the joy in your life?
Where is the joy in your life? Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Cool. So, any closing thoughts on stress?
Yeah. Like, get to know your stress. Get to know yourself. Bring it all together. Build that relationship with yourself and the stress. And play.
Well, I'm going to second that. I'm going to say yes, play, and I know I finished on this before, but don't do it alone. Reach out.
Yeah.
Let's leave it there.
Yep.
That's a wrap.
That is a wrap. You've been listening to the Notcast podcast, Life, Love, Misery and Deep Shit, with your TheraCoach hosts,
Amy Dave
and David Bird.
Amy is a transformative spiritual and self-love coach and therapist who takes people on a powerful journey towards self-love and personal transformation. She empowers her clients to discover the truth of who they really are, their true purpose, and the truest expression of themselves, whilst enabling them to navigate life and its challenges with ease, grace, and above all, love. Create relationships that rock their world and let go of the toxic shit that holds them back. You can connect with Amy on her Facebook at facebook.com/amy.dave11. That's ami.dave.11.
David is a transformative coach and hypnotherapist who guides his clients on a journey of self-exploration and transformation to smash the shit out of their mental stumbling blocks and send their emotional baggage packing, helping them to get back in the driver's seat, create a more powerful, loving connection to life, and unleash onto the world their bright, shining light of authentic give-a-fuckness. You can connect with David at his website, dbch.co.uk. That's dbch.co.uk.
The Notcast.